Hi everyone, Patrick Marks here. Thanks for watching. Today's topic, why are Christians against science? There are a lot of people today who believe that biblical Christians are against science because we believe that God created the heavens and the earth. And since scientists and public school teachers and everything have so far figured out that the world evolved over millions and millions of years, it makes sense to wonder why biblical Christians would be so against science. But in order to answer this question, I have to point out right from the beginning that this question is actually a gigantic question fail right from the beginning. When you take your first logic class in college, you're going to find out that this is what we call a complex question. A complex question is like, have you quit beating up on your girlfriend yet? Now, if you say yes, then you have admitted to beating up your girlfriend. If you say no, well, then you've admitted to beating up your girlfriend. And either way, you're toast. The only way to successfully answer a complex question is actually to break it into two pieces. So then you can ask, do you beat up your girlfriend? And if so, have you quit beating her, you stupid toad? Well, in the same way, we've got to break up this question into two pieces. We should ask, are biblical Christians against science? And if so, why? Well, when you put it that way, biblical Christians are not against science at all. You see, real science is about how things work, and that's just plain cool. But unfortunately, a lot of people mix up the word science with the word evolution, and they think they mean the same thing. But as a former public school science teacher, I'm here to tell you that science and evolution are two distinctly different words. But there's more to this question than just talking about what is the definition of the word science and what is the definition of the word evolution. Because in today's world, science gives things a lot of credibility in one fashion or another. You see, most people think that when something is scientific, it is therefore true whether we like it or not. Take the idea of global warming, for instance. Some scientists are saying that the Earth is getting warmer because we human beings are a bunch of giant bacterial polluting scum beasts that are warming up the entire atmosphere. Well, whether that's true or not, the fear of the science of global warming is leading to more restrictive laws on all sorts of things. So it's important to know whether or not the science really adds up. Now, I'm not making a statement on whether or not I think that global warming is scientifically accurate, but if we're not careful, we can make laws that are so darn restrictive that we can't even eat pinto beans anymore. Beans, beans, the magical fruit. The more you eat, the more you doot. Whoa, is it getting warmer in here or what? But if the science of global warming isn't accurate, these kind of restrictive laws wouldn't be necessary. So what is science really? Well, the dictionary gives the basic definition as being organizing knowledge. Science is a framework from which we are getting an accurate view of how the world works. Most scientists try to do this by using something called the scientific method. The scientific method has at least 4 parts. 1. Watch and describe a natural process. 2. Come up with an idea to try to explain how this process works. They call that forming a hypothesis. 3. Use the hypothesis to try to predict what will happen with the process over time, especially if you change something in an experiment. 4. Do experiments to see if your predictions and your description of the natural process are accurate. So if your experiment shows that your predictions are coming true, that your description is accurate, and other scientists are getting the same result, then you know you've got some pretty good science going on. Now, obviously, the theory of evolution can't be studied using the scientific method because nobody can directly observe one kind of animal or plant changing into another animal and plant over time because nobody can live long enough to see such an experiment. On the other hand, no one can see God creating something new out of nothing today, so that puts both evolution and the idea of creation in the same ballpark. The truth is, both the biblical creation idea and the evolution idea are actually scientific models. A scientific model is an idea about how something might work. Now, a model can never be directly and completely proven because nobody can take a time machine to go back into the past and see what actually happened. Instead, all we can do is deduce from the facts that we have in, say, fossils or present-day processes about how something might have worked. Now, whichever model fits the facts best, that's the most likely to be the truth. But to say that evolution and science are the same thing is incorrect. For one thing, no one has ever seen one kind of animal or plant evolve naturally over time into another completely different kind of animal or plant. Some people may say that watching bacteria develop an immunity to a strain of antibiotics is an example of evolution. But this really isn't evolution because the bacteria are still bacteria and the capacity to have that resistance was already pre-coded into the bacterium's DNA. But when you're talking about things that happened a long time ago, you have to ask a different question. And that question is, which model best fits the facts? Science has shown that the information we find in the DNA of cells is a blueprint. That is, it's information that has a purpose and a plan. Science has also shown that that kind of information has only ever been seen to come from one place, and that's an intelligent mind. That fits the biblical Christian model that the mind of God designed and built all the information that we find in living systems today. In the end, we can see that evolution is an idea that some scientists study scientifically, but that doesn't mean that evolution and science are the same thing. So that means that biblical Christians are certainly not against science because we want to study things scientifically to show that science confirms how our model fits the facts best. To find out more, please subscribe to my channel because we're going to be talking about a lot of these things over the next few videos. Until next time, be good, don't do anything evil, and we'll see you next time.